make advancement by hearing. So the more we have a desire to hear, the more we will make advancement. I was talking with Jivananda Maharaj one time in the Dallas temple. He was there one time, the same time I was there. And so there weren't very many people that came to the temple for his Bhagavatam class. And I said, well, Maharaj, I'm sorry not so many people came, but it was a very wonderful class. And he said, well, they probably are thinking, well, why should I go? All he's going to do is tell me I'm not my body, and I already know that. So, we should never think we know it all. So tonight, I was going to talk on 9th chapter, 34th verse. Caught my attention. The 9th chapter, the most confidential knowledge. This is a sweet, sweet chapter. It's kind of hard to figure out. What is our favorite of all chapters in Bhagavad Gita? This is definitely one of them. 9:34.
Is he about to Steve? Can you come out? We invited him to come to this.
In my book, it's page 499, but yours may be different. Everybody there?
Still have art no production of it.
Krishna says, Mamana bhava madbhakto madhyajimam namaskuru mamivashashi yuthaivam atmanam matparayana. Krishna says, engage your mind always in thinking of me. Become my devotee. Offer obeisances to me and worship me. Being completely absorbed in me, surely you will come to me. So, what am I saying you can repeat? Krishna says, engage your mind always in thinking of me.
Engage your mind always in thinking of me.
Become my devotee.
Become my devotee.
Offer obeisances to me.
Offer obeisances to me.
And worship me.
And worship me.
Being completely absorbed in me.
Being completely absorbed in me.
Surely you will come to me.
Surely you will come to me.
Report by Srila Prabhupada. By the way, stop me at any time with comments or questions. In this verse, it is clearly indicated that Krishna consciousness is the only means of being delivered from the clutches of this contaminated material world. Sometimes unscrupulous commentators distort the meaning of what is clearly stated here, that all devotional service should be offered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Ultimately, unscrupulous commentators divert the mind of the reader to that which is not at all feasible. Some commentators do not know that there is no difference between Krishna's mind and Krishna. Krishna is not an ordinary human being. He is absolute truth. His body, his mind, and he himself are all one and absolute. It is stated in the Kurma Purana, as it is quoted by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami in his Anubhashya comments on the Chaitanya Charitamrita, 5th chapter, Adi Leela, verses 41 through 48. Deha dehi viveho yam nishvari vidyate kavich quachit. This means that there is no difference in Krishna, the Supreme Lord, between Krishna and his body. This means that there is no difference in Krishna, the Supreme Lord, between Krishna himself and his body. But because the commentators do not know the science of Krishna, they hide Krishna and divide his personality from his mind or his body, although this is sheer ignorance of the science of Krishna. Some men make profit out of misleading people. Why would somebody do something like that? I'm going to pause here and we'll talk about that first paragraph. That's a little hard to accept, isn't it? Some people would, why would somebody do that? Could there be motive for that?
It could be that they themselves don't know.
That's right. They themselves don't know, but they want you to think. You ever notice people speak absolutely? They'll come up with something like, I don't know, some health thing that's going around. You know, we've seen so many of them come and go. But they'll tell you, do you know if you eat this that you'll do this and die? And they said, like, it's just positive. You go, really? Yeah! And you may even think, oh man, I better stop eating whatever that was he told me to, you know. And then you find out later on, well, they were wrong. That wasn't true. So, I mean, this happens, but people speak that. It's just like the fat-free fad that happened 30 years ago. Remember when it started? So they were saying that too much fat will do this, will clog your arteries, you know, end up with heart failure, heart attack. And so people went on this drive to cut back on fat, and they started producing. You know, the Vaishyas step in, they hear a chance for some cha-ching, some profit. So they start producing all these products that are low in fat, baked potato chips. They even had fat-free oils, and although they turned out to be really bad for you, they had a whole industry started. It's just like now there's a whole industry on gluten-free stuff. You know, corporate America steps in and cashes in on the potential for profit. And they all also promote it. But then 30 years later, the same scientists who came up with that, you got to eliminate fat from your diet, the same men, now that they have better computers and they can do much better research, they ran their statistics, their data again. And they said, hey, guess what? Shucks. We were wrong. They admitted we were wrong. As a matter of fact, if you cut back too far on fat, then your body will produce a chemical to make up for it, because your body needs this fat, and that chemical your body makes in an emergency situation will clog your arteries. So you get just the opposite. You're trying to cut way back on fat. Because I remember when they were saying, you know, don't eat avocados, don't do this. Now they're pushing avocados. Eat avocado, eat it. You know, if you're young and you're just going through the first time, you may hear all, but when you're my age, you've heard it and heard it and heard it. You know, I remember when coconut oil was a sin, health-wise. You know, ghee, no, don't touch that stuff. Now they push it. It's in every health food store. And of course the price has gone up. So, you know, so you're right. People don't know, but they speak like they do. And unfortunately people say, oh, really? Wow. And they take it as absolute fact. So there's so many people walking around with absolute facts that are just absolute fiction. That applies to the science of God as well. Just fiction. Speculation, you see. We always say, when one of us makes a statement, back it up with Guru, Shadu, Shastra. That's our filter. If you say, whatever, make some spiritual statement, I think, well, have I ever heard Prabhupada say that? Have I ever heard the assembled Vaishnavas, the great saints and sages, say that? Have I ever found that in Shastra? If you get no to those, I don't believe you. You just made a non-comment. If it doesn't apply to Guru, Shadu, Shastra, no matter how many letters you have after your name, I consider what you say the equivalent of the barking of a dog. Actually, the barking of a dog has much more meaning than what you say, because there's nothing. Even if you say, yes, but science can show, but science has shown me so many things, and then they go and they change. You see? So, and another reason could be we get misled because if I'm looking to make profit from you, then I may put a little bit of a different spin on my interpretation of Bhagavad Gita and God and God's words. Might make it a little bit more attractive for you, a little easier. Like in Sunday we talked about Rajneesh. You heard of Rajneesh? You know, he had 84 Rolls Royces. Lots of money. You know, lots of followers. He had so many followers and so much money that they came this close to taking over a whole county in Oregon. They were almost elected, almost. They made a real stupid mistake, but otherwise they would have. Simply because he was known as the sex guru. He was thinking, oh, sex is good. Have all you can. Yes, yes. You know. So he got lots of followers, lots of money. You see, so spreading that which is a distortion of the Shastra can be very profitable. You can get lots of followers and lots of profit. So there's motive there. So first, you may not know. Secondly, you may know, but it's really worth it. You see what I mean? Any discussion before we go on? Prabhupada continues. Prabhupada, let me read that last bit. Because the commentators do not know this science of Krishna, they hide Krishna and divide his personality from his mind or his body, although it is sheer ignorance of the science of Krishna. Some men make profit out of misleading people. Prabhupada is being very kind here. Many men make profit out of misleading people. There's much more profit to be made out of misleading people than there is by delivering the absolute truth. People will give you fewer donations if you give them the truth than they will if you give them ignorance. Case in point, Rajneesh, and there are many, many, many more. You see. This is not a very profitable business that we have. Although, as a movement, we do take in enough to open temples and do many things, distribute books. But compared to the rest, we're paupers. We really are. Does anybody know we have this governing body to show you how poor our organization is? We have this governing body commission, the GBC, worldwide, leaders around the world. They have meetings, many different meetings a year to keep the society governed properly and heading in the right direction. So it's many, many people, a whole lot of work, you know, big conventions all over different places in the world. Do you know what their entire operating budget is?
$1 million.
$72,000. And you're right, you can't do it on that. So they get a help from friends and whatever, their own resources, whatever, just to make it happen. So it's very voluntary. Not enough, we don't have enough money to do that. So, and these are the guys at the top. So we've got an operating budget of $72,000, zero salaries or anything. It's amazing. So Prabhupada continues. There are some who are demoniac. They also think of Krishna, but enviously, just like King Kamsa, Krishna's uncle. He was also thinking of Krishna always, but he thought of Krishna as his enemy. He was always in anxiety, wondering when Krishna would come to kill him. That kind of thinking will not help us. One should be thinking of Krishna in devotional love. That is bhakti. One should cultivate the knowledge of Krishna continuously. What is that favorable cultivation? It is to learn from a bona fide teacher. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and we have several times explained his body is not material, but is eternal, blissful knowledge. This kind of talk about Krishna will help one become a devotee. Understanding Krishna otherwise, from the wrong source, will prove fruitless. So, let's get back to the verse. What's Krishna asking us to do here? Engage your mind always in thinking of me. Krishna wants you to think of him always. He says, become my devotee. Become devoted. I want you to think about me always, and I want you to be devoted to me. Offer obeisances to me and worship me. Treat me like I am. Just treat me like Krishna. Offer obeisances and give me your worship. Being completely absorbed in me, surely you will come to me. If you'll do this, you'll come to me. But you need to do this to feel the love that will help you go to him. You see? Engage your mind always in thinking of me, Krishna says. Now, when you love somebody, you think of them. Now, when you're, especially when you first fall in love, but it should last all the way through if it's really good love, you think of your spouse or your beloved always, you see. You're always thinking of them. Why, throughout the day, so many things you may see might remind you of your beloved, you see. Krishna wants that. I want you to love me, he says. And you want to love me. I love you, and I want you to know how much I love you. When we care for somebody, it's important for us to let them know how much we love them, isn't it? I mean, when you love somebody, you don't think, well, it's enough for me to just think like that. Don't you kind of feel like I want to do a little something for them? I need to show this that I feel inside. I need to demonstrate that. So Krishna knows we're covered over consciousness, right? Our consciousness is covered over. So he's giving us step-by-step procedures on how to uncover it. Think of me always. Offer obeisances. Worship me. You see? Yeah.
What exactly is an obeisance? I don't really know if I've heard that word before.
Bowing down.
Okay.
Offering deep respect. You know when the devotees go in the temple, they bow? It's obeisances. Right. Yeah.
Is it any wonder that outsiders perceive Krishna conscious people as cultish or obsessive with God? Because I would wager that most of society, God is someone you deal with when you die. He's someone you shake hands with and you get your harp and that's all taken care of when you leave.
Yeah.
But up until that midpoint, that God wants you to be happy. Go carpe diem your happiness. Brutally. So it's such a contrast, I think, for people to really sit and to think of them always. What is that? It seems so outlandish to always think
Well,
about.
of course, yeah. To the pseudo-spiritualist. Why do I have to think of God all the time? That sounds pretty darn cultish to me. Although you can see that there is cultishness in so many religious situations that I've heard. I think it sounds very cultish. I know of a couple that wanted to have well, let me say, if we had somebody in our community, and let's say they wanted to start having regular meetings at their, let's say Bob decided, I'd like to have, or Jorge, I'd like to have regular meetings at my house and invite the devotees over, and we'll chant and we'll read, and then we'll have prasadam. You, as a representative of the temple, what would you require them to do?
Well, if they're representing the temple, then they should try to be aligned with the teachings of Prabhupada.
Yeah, but I mean, would you investigate them? Would you call a group meeting of the community to see if you'll let them do it?
No.
Investigate them personally? I've heard of a recent situation where some people, 20-year veterans of a particular church, I'm not going to mention the place or whatever, the husband and wife wanted to start a home program in their house once a week. And it took them over 2 years. Well, I was kicked around, people met, all these different people met in the church. And they were like really looking into them, And I thought, my gosh, if we wanted to do that, well, first of all, if Bob wanted to do it, he'd just do it, wouldn't you? And you would invite everybody. I mean, the management meeting wouldn't get together and say, well, we need to really look into this. And when I heard this, I thought, this sounds a little cultish, One of their members was going to go to India just to check out the Hare Krishnas. And the whole church got in an uproar over it. They were trying to talk this person out of it, thinking, you shouldn't do it. What if you wanted to go to Jerusalem? You'd go, right?
Yeah. I don't think anybody would say anything.
You know what we would say?
Go.
And take a lot of pictures.
Right.
Keep a diary. This sounds great. I wish we could all go. But this, the whole church got involved. Intense criticism. And they've been going to this church for 20 years. Big, heavy-duty members of the church, So, this cultish thing. When I hear these things, I think, oh, for all these years, people have called us a cult. What kind of controls do we have? Well, we have controls on the philosophy that's spoken here. And, somebody's going to have a home program and we find out that they're speaking some Mayavad philosophy. We may say, well, they're not really, they don't represent us. They can do whatever they want, but we disagree with the personal whatever, We disagree. That's not in keeping. And we can show it's not in our books. We preach out of these books. We preach out of our scriptures. You see? So, yeah, sometimes. Does that answer your question?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I've learned that sometimes when people are pointing the finger at me saying cult, I need to look at them. I can give you a lot more examples, but that's one that's fresh. And there's many more. Makes me wonder, my gosh. And we're supposed to be the cult. Did I answer your question? Yeah. Okay. Sometimes I get. All right. One should therefore engage his mind in the eternal form, the primal form of Krishna, with conviction in his heart that Krishna is the supreme. He should engage himself in worship. There are hundreds of thousands of temples in India for the worship of Krishna, and the devotional service is practiced here. When such practice is made, one has to offer obeisances to Krishna. One should lower his head before the deity and engage his mind, his body, his activities, everything. That will make one fully absorbed in Krishna without deviation. This will help one transfer to Krishna Loka. One should not be deviated by unscrupulous commentators. One must engage in the 9 different processes of devotional service, beginning with hearing and chanting about Krishna. Pure devotional service is the highest achievement of human society. So let me pause and talk about this paragraph. As we said, we should offer our worship, we should bow our head to Krishna. You see? I don't know if it's this purport, but I was just reading elsewhere today that the Brahmins worship Krishna. Does Krishna worship anybody? Does anybody know? Krishna worships the Brahmins. It's not a one-sided thing. It's not that we're just worshiping Krishna and he's sitting there saying, yes, that's very good, continue, keep it up a little bit. You over there fan a little bit more. It's not like that. Krishna is the supreme reciprocator. As I've said before, he can always trump us. Whatever we can offer to him, he's going to give back more than we give to him. He's Krishna. He can do that. You see, we can't do like that with him. He gives us so much, we can never catch up. You see, now he's given us our very existence. Continued love. You see, even in the face of, let's say it started with our disrespect. We disrespected Krishna. We left. I was telling a story one time in Asheville, North Carolina, about how we were there with Krishna for eternity. We were always with Krishna. See, everything that there is. You can't go anywhere. There's no such thing as void, because Krishna is everywhere. We might perceive a void, but then that void is Krishna. You see, he is all pervasive. He's everywhere. His energy is everywhere. So, Krishna has given us everything, always. So, at some point in time, long ago and far away, we decided, you know what, I think I'm going to go somewhere else, as if we had somewhere else to go. That somewhere else is his energy too, which he's created for us to go there to get away from him if we wanted to. But pretty much out of envy, we packed up and left to go find something better, to do it on our own, and to perhaps put ourselves in the center of the universe. Maybe we will become God. So we just up and left. You see? So we're in this material world, and one thing that we all want, what we really like to have, is loyalty. Wouldn't you like to have your friends? You want loyalty amongst your friends? So do I. But I just departed from loyalty when I up and took it all away and left Krishna. So what we think of as loyalty in the material world is like the love that we think of in the material world. There's strings attached. I'll be loyal to you as long as I get something in return. You see, first of all, you better be loyal to me. You know, I'll love you, but you better love me back, and I better gain from it. I need to get some type of enjoyment. I have to get some gain. Yes.
A question. What are the 9 different processes of devotional service?
Hearing, chanting, remembering. Oh,
Parasena,
huh?
Serving.
serving the Lord's feast.
Oh, I'm drawing a blank. Can you name them?
Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu. So, hearing, chanting, remembering, serving Krishna's lotus feet, Padasevanam, Archanam, worshipping, Vandanam, offering prayers, Dasyam, serving, Sakyam, becoming his friend, and then Atmanivedanam, surrendering everything fully.
Yeah. Surrender everything to use in his service. You surrender it to him by using it in his service. Yeah. So, does that answer your question?
Yeah. I was just curious because it was on the paragraph, so I was just curious what the 9 were.
Yeah.
They didn't really say the 9 on there. All of them.
Yeah, in this particular instance, that they're not mentioned. They're mentioned in other places. So, yeah, we're looking for loyalty, but it's kind of like we're not really willing to give full loyalty. We don't really know what it is. We're looking for love, but we're not able to give real love because we don't really know what it is. We have strings attached to our love. I have to get some benefit from it, you see. So, but we've started out our trip into this material world by demonstrating that we're not loyal, you see. So that's one of the qualities that we have to develop as a devotee. We develop loyalty. Loyalty without cause. Doesn't have to, you don't have to do anything. I don't need to receive anything for me to be loyal. Just like for my love to be pure, I don't need to receive anything from you for me to love you. You see? I love you and I'm loyal. End of statement. Will always be loyal, even if you turn out to be a real jerk. I may have to separate myself from you, but I will still love you, and I will still be loyal to your, well, you know, I'll be your well-wisher, and will help you at any time. So that's the thinking of a devotee. Not so much like that in the material world. I see people that they get sideways with somebody, you know, they have a conflict, and they say, you know, I'll never associate with that person again. Under no circumstances. I will never. You see. And the devotee's not like that. I may keep you at a distance, but I'm still loyal to you. I'm always looking out for your best interest, and I still love you as a servant of Krishna, even though you may have forgotten it or you may have gone on some sidetrack. Does that make any sense? So loyalty is something that's extremely important, but we have difficulty in the material world. We have difficulty with that. You know, we may be interested. We'll place our interest here, and then we got to put a little bit over here too, you know, and a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And you see, we have a tendency to do like that. So, if something shores up our faith in Krishna, some belief, some scripture, your interpretation of the scripture see, you read the Bible like a devotee, and you read the Bhagavad Gita like a devotee, and you can tell the similarities. The goal is to love God. See, being loyal to the goal, the cause. The cause is to learn to love God. So anything that helps me along that path, I embrace it. Anything that may impede that, I reject it. I cast it aside. You see. But with that goal in mind and being loyal to that goal of achieving pure love of Godhead, then I know my path to follow. And I can tell, it allows me to tell nonsense from real scripture. Nonsense from real philosophy. And therefore, when somebody starts talking la 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 la, some whatever, if you can see, well, this doesn't take me to loving God, then I think, not this one. You know, I care not to listen. That's my choice. I have free will. I'm exercising it here. Not listening. I don't want to hear your opinion. You see? But somebody that can lead us to loving God, we're all ears. I want to hear. See? And I want to speak too with that person. Hearing and chanting. Starts with hearing and chanting, speaking. You know, if we hear enough, then we start to speak properly. We start to speak spiritual knowledge. If we hear enough. So it's very important that we hear as much as we can. Hearing includes reading. Reading, hearing. Any questions? Okay. Prabhupada goes on. Well, that last sentence that Prabhupada says in that previous paragraph is very important. Pure devotional service is the highest achievement of human society. If we don't achieve pure devotional service to Krishna, then we've failed at being human beings. This human form of life will allow you to develop pure devotional service, pure loving devotional service to the Supreme Lord. You can't do that as an animal. You can't. They don't think like that. Although we can learn. I was over at your house a few days ago, Thanksgiving, and our dog Jack was being so friendly, and when he would, I would look down at him and he would roll over on his back. And I remember Tamal Krishna Goswami back in the 70s, we were talking about that. I had this dog, he came to visit me in my house, Tennessee, and this dog, whenever he would look at it, the dog would do the same thing. Roll over on his back and show his stomach. And he said, just see, he's exposing his most vulnerable part. This underside is the most vulnerable and needs to be protected more than anything. So it's like surrender. I surrender. You see, so in some ways animals are better at showing loyalty, loving attachment. You see, we can learn a lot from them.
Devotion.
Huh?
Devotion.
Devotion. They're motivated mostly by their senses, though. You know, you give me great pleasure. Animals believe, like, well, you know, you're pretty much God. Water comes from, your dog probably thinks water comes from Bob. Bob is the source of water. Whenever I need water, I go, oh, and then I look, and it's in my bowl. Bob put water in my bowl.
I'm a water god.
So-
I've always wanted to be one.
Yeah. So the dog's offering his obeisances. So they think of you. You're just, I don't know you're just incredible. When I'm hungry, I make a certain noise, and he produces food. He gives me my daily bread. You see? Great pleasure by stroking and scratching, sweet loving words. You see? So, and they're devoted. See, so we can learn a lot from those attitudes. The dog's brain isn't developed enough for them to think of life after death, concept of God beyond Bob. You know, is there life after Bob? Is there God? Other than Bob, is there another God? The dogs won't bring any false gods before them. You know, there's just Bob, period. You know, Carrie, period. So you've got your own religion, so your dog thinks that
The goddess.
your dog believes in the Supreme Personality of Carrie, and your dog believes in the Supreme Personality of Bob. And maybe Tim. You see?
He's a demigod.
He said Tim.
I'm the god.
Yeah, okay, I'm glad we got that straight.
It
human being's brain has the capacity to go beyond that. We can actually philosophize. Is there a God? You know, is there life after death? How do I perfect my human life? The dog believes that my life is perfect if I have enough to eat, a place to sleep, someone to mate with, and maybe I don't have to defend as much as other creatures, but life is good if I can defend. You see, life is wonderful. And it stops there. Human beings, though, they wonder, they ponder that. Is there life after death? Is there a God? If there is a God, what does he want from me? What do I have to do to attain him? What is my destiny? What can I expect after this life? Will there be another one? And what can I do to assure that that will be good? You see, the animals don't. So to fail at pure devotional service, then you're failing at being a human being. You are just a polished animal. You know, the animals have 4 legs, and we're running around on wheels. You see, we have machines. So we're like animals, but polished. We're polished animals. So without that developing pure, loving, devotional service with God in this lifetime, we failed at being a human being. Now, some people say, well, I don't care. That's what I want. Well, that's okay. All I want is to enjoy. You know, I'm convinced that there is plenty of enjoyment in the material world, and that's all I want. Then, okay. So, go for that. Lack of knowledge. Any questions? Prabhupada says the 7th and 8th chapters of Bhagavad Gita have explained pure devotional service to the Lord that is free from speculative knowledge, mystic yoga, and fruitive activities. Those who are not purely sanctified may be attracted by different features of the Lord, like the impersonal Brahmjyoti and localized Paramatma. But a pure devotee directly takes to the service of the Supreme Lord. So, speculative knowledge. We have an unfortunate tendency to speculate. You know, we just do. And it's so sad. Because speculation means I'm not pursuing the absolute truth. You see? I speculate. Typically those who are speculative, they're quick to speculate, they're also quick to believe just about anything. You know, conspiracy theorists, I speculate it's this. Ooh, I'll bet that's true. You see, this goes back and forth like that. I was amazed at how many people spend so much of their lives in speculative theories. Have you ever had anybody, you know, come up to you and they're telling you some heavy-duty speculation, and boy, they're just like convinced. And I'm thinking, well, but then I realized, well, whoa, you know, boy, they're really not going to let go of this. So I said, oh, well, that's interesting. Oh, hey, look at the time. You know, I've got to go meet somebody. We'll talk more about this later. Bye-bye. Get out of here. Yeah.
Well, to me, it's even more sad that they're speculating when the truth is available. The truth is there to be had, but they're still speculating.
Right. Why is that, you think?
I don't know. I had just this last week, my partner was worried and afraid about what was Social Security going to do to our income because we're married. So what are they going to do? Are they going to take our money? Are you going to get yours? Am I going to get mine? And it's like, call. You know, just call and find out. But spend a week worrying about it.
Yeah. Well, a lot of times people are attracted to speculation versus the truth, because if I accept the truth, I give up my right to speculate. speculation is fine. Well, it's creative. I can compete with you. You may speculate one way. I'm trying to be creative and out-speculate you with something else. It's like I'll trump your speculation and I'll raise you 2 more. You see? If I adhere to the truth, I just have the truth. I'm limited to the doggone truth. That's their thinking. Although, the truth is sweet. Truth is good. Truth friend. Truth good. You have learned to love the truth. So, yeah, we see that a lot. People are much more attracted. In some cases, they're much more attracted to speculation. Because it allows me, when I speculate, I can put some of my own personality into it. And I can demonstrate by my speculations how sophisticated I am.
I think it also affirms one of the reasons why apparently we ended up here, and that's to seek out our own independence. If we have truth here and speculation here, well, I can, assert my independence from reality as it could be fixed.
Good point. Yeah. Sometimes people see that adhering to the truth, I'm losing my independence. You can see it's so unfortunate. Well, in other words, I feel more comfortable to be in the darkness of ignorance, so that I have the freedom to speculate, rather than to accept the torchlight of knowledge and abandon my speculation. But now I'm free to philosophize based on the truth, which is unlimited. The speculations are limited. You see? The absolute truth is unlimited. Well, we can think and not speculate, but philosophize based on what we're learning, based on what we know from Guru Sadhu Shastra for eternity. It's unlimited. You see? Krishna is supreme, absolute truth. That which never changes. You see? The truth doesn't change. The speculations come and go. The truth stays. The absolute truth is always the absolute truth. You see? So it's just unfortunate ignorance that people will go for speculation. And that's our job. That's our job, to help people get over these habits. We see the material habits are just opposite from spiritual habits. The spiritualist does not speculate. And if he has to speculate, he'll tell you. Oh, I'm not sure, I'm speculating here, but I think that you have to go 5 miles that way and turn left on Elvernon, but I'm not sure, I'm only speculating. Rather than someone say, oh, I know, 5 miles that way, left on Elvernon. And you go and it's wrong. The honest guys would say, look, I don't know, that's speculation. I think that, I'm positive that it's east. And I think you turn left on Alvernon, and like that, you see. And I think that's about 4 miles that way, give or take a little bit, rather than me declare, oh, positively.
That's why I've got GPS.
Yeah.
Because that comes from God. There's
Yeah.
a satellite up there.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's interesting because there's a lot of different, this concept of truth is, because a lot of different camps will claim they have ownership of the absolute truth. We're talking about religions here. Remember, there's a lot of, I would say the 3 Abrahamic religions are really notorious for claiming that they have the absolute truth in their own, and that's, I think, where the problem comes from, or can be, or problems arise is when these, the mentality of that I hold the absolute truth, and you come across somebody who also believes the same thing. I mean, that can be difficult.
Right.
Because Because that's why I like that term in yoga. What is it called? The eternal dharma, or the santanam. What is it?
Sanatana Dharma.
Yeah. So
Eternal.
the eternal truth. The eternal. There's an organic eternal truth that really isn't owned by any religion, actually.
Right.
So I think
It is beyond religion.
it's beyond religion, and I think that's, that's the exciting place.
Yeah.
But when people are caught in their uniforms, or what I like to say, their costume parties, because religion can be just a big costume party. I've got my costume and my set of beliefs, and you've got your costumes and your set of beliefs, and and the twain will never meet.
Right.
And that's where the problems come from. Is all of these, truth seekers who really think they have the only truth. It's an interesting place to go. When you
Yeah.
start using that word truth and absolute truth, it really kind of brings up a lot of.
What they're actually saying is that my religion is superior to,
Right.
my religion is true, and my religion is superior to yours.
Right.
So Krishna says to Arjuna, towards the end of the Bhagavad Gita, Sarvadharma Parikyaga, Amekam Saranam Vraja. Give up all forms of religion.
Right.
They're paths that lead to pure love of Godhead.
Mhm.
Therefore, the truth, loving God, is above religion. Well, the paths stop there.
Right.
It's the end of the road.
Mhm.
You see? So he's just telling Arjuna, skip ahead. The
Mhm.
thing I say many times about Krishna consciousness, which we're really not a religion. I mean, according to the United States government and the state of Arizona, we are registered as a religion. But we're really not. We're just a process of offering loving devotional service to God. You see? And we've given up the processes of religion. Religion takes you to loving God. Not that one religion is wrong. It's a path. If it takes you to loving God, then it's bona fide. Then it's bona fide.
Yeah, it's difficult to break out of that system, a religious system, but if you can and you do it, it's so freeing.
Then you're
It is
free.
so freeing. Yes, you're free.
Therefore,
You're free to
Krishna,
seek the truth wherever you
Krishna
are.
is telling his dear friend Arjuna, ultimate secret here. This is really confidential. Give it all up. Just surrender to me, become my devotee. I'll deliver you. I'll do it for you. So you get to cut to the front of the line. I've used the analogy like if you go to Best Buy when they're having a sale or something like that, and you go to check out with your purchase and the line's like a quarter of a mile long, wouldn't you like to be able to just go right to the front? So Krishna consciousness is that ability to cut to the front of the line, to cut to the chase. You see, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu delivered this chanting of Hare Krishna so that we could do just that. Let's just cut right around it all. You can go right to the end of the path, whatever path you're on. You can go right to the end and be there, performing loving devotional service to God.
It's phenomenal, like epistemology is the science of how do you know what you know. And, what is truth? Well, the simplest answer is experience. I know water's wet. I know, X, Y, and Z. You can tell a lot about other groups by their truth, by how they act upon their truth. Like the family feud of Judaism, Islam, Christianity. My God will get up your God. And so it's, I think that's why some people are negative of other truths, because there's a fragility of what they think is the wrong, because they're not really experiencing it, but they have to hold on for dear life, because that's what I was raised with, or that's what I think I am. Very awkward.
Yeah, if you, in developmental philosophizing or speculative, if you start out with a speculation and work forward, if this is true, they even say like that, Assuming that this is so, then possibly this would be plus this times y, blah, 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 and you work up this. If we were right here, if 2 plus 2 equals 2, equals 4, then we can go forward. If I say 2 plus 2 equals 5 and work it forward, then all my calculations are wrong. But if we start at the end, the absolute truth, God is supreme and I am his eternal servant, joined with him by love. Supreme, absolute truth. Now, every religion probably would agree with that. So now we can work from the truth back. So that means, if I'm his eternal servant, that I should spend all of my working hours, all of my thoughts, all of my words, all of my activities, praising him, serving him, loving him, which means that I need to do this, you see what I mean? If you start from the truth and come back, it's all true. You see? Rather than starting from a speculation, given that this might be true, and going forward, that's iffy. Starting at the absolute truth and working back, then it's all true, it's all factual. Let me read this last paragraph. There's a beautiful poem about Krishna in which it is clearly stated that any person who is engaged in the worship of demigods is most unintelligent and cannot achieve at any time the supreme award of Krishna. The devotee in the beginning may sometimes fall from the standard, but still he should be considered superior to all other philosophers and yogis. One who always engages in Krishna consciousness should be understood to be a perfectly saintly person. His accidental, non-devotional activities will diminish, and he will soon be situated, without any doubt, in complete perfection. The pure devotee has no actual chance to fall down, because the Supreme Godhead personally takes care of his pure devotees. Therefore, the intelligent person should take directly to the process of Krishna consciousness and happily live in this material world. He will eventually receive the supreme award of Krishna. Thus in the Bhagavad purports of the 9th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita in the matter of the most confidential knowledge. So, and Prabhupada says this in different places. Krishna mentions it earlier in this chapter, that even if the devotee may stumble along the path, he may make a mistake somehow or other, but because Maya is always there, we're noticing it. I was talking with somebody just recently about, like you can be, one thing I like about, the only thing I like about Facebook is that you can go on there and see pictures of deities from all over the world. Krishna's lotus feet from Vrindavan, I found them today. It's just beautiful. Pictures of people distributing Prabhupada's books. The North American Sankirtan newsletter comes on. It's just wonderful. But so you can be focused on something Krishna conscious, but over here on the side is some advertisement. And sometimes they're moving. They have these little things moving to get, always to get you. You ever notice that? Today I was reading some correspondence between myself and some GBC godbrothers. You see, and I'm trying to read this, and over here on the Yahoo page, there's all this motion is going on. And I'm looking over there to see what it is, and oh, wait a minute. That was a site that I went to check out about some coconut oil a few days ago, and so somehow or other they share this knowledge that I visited this site, so now it's on my Yahoo page, like, hey, remember me going? So it's like, Maya's like that. Maya's always, hey, trying to take your eye off your focus, you see. This is constant. You don't notice it all the time, but it's always happening. everywhere you go. It's constant. So we have to stay focused. Somehow or other, we have to be careful that we don't have some accidental fall down. Accidental because material energy is always there. Hey, come on over here, do this. Hey, wouldn't you like this? You know you would. Come on, just one won't hurt. What do you think, you're going to go to hell if you just have one? Come on. You know. And then you do, and you think, oh my God, this is stupid. You know, until we get to the point where you think, okay, it ain't happening anymore. You're not going to get me again, you know. That was a nice score, but you're not going to. Because now I'm stronger. Every time we do that, we get stronger, you see. To the point that we don't even, when we see the little things going on, we look and we say, yeah, well, no. Whereas the Italians do. We have to talk in multi-languages. We've got Italians, we have Hispanics. So, yeah. So, but just because the devotee stumbles doesn't mean he's not a saintly person, he or she. They're still, as long as they're practicing devotional service, they're still, how does Prabhupada word this here? Should be understood to be a perfectly saintly person. Wow. Now, a fanatic would say, no, how can they be perfectly saintly? They stumbled. Well, they made a mistake. Well, that's not what Prabhupada says. Prabhupada says the devotee in the beginning may sometimes fall down from the standard, but still he should be considered superior to all other philosophers and yogis. One who always engages in Krishna consciousness should be understood to be a perfectly saintly person. You see? So there may be some mistake. There may be some shortcoming. You know, Prabhupada's analogy of the hospital. ISKCON is like a hospital. So many people check into the hospital and they're really sick. In emergency room, put this guy into intensive care. You see, they could die at any minute. And so then there are people who just checked in and they're really sick. They need a lot of treatment, a lot of medicine. And then there are people who have been there for a long time. They've gone through the treatment. They've taken their medicine. They're going to be discharged tomorrow. They're not sick anymore. And there are people who are halfway through, 3/4 of the way, 1/4, all the way along that spectrum. But they're in the hospital. They're taking their medicine. They're under the care of the physician. You see. So one who's sincere about going back to Godhead, he's under the care of the physician, Guru and Krishna. Stay under the care. Get cured, and go back to Godhead. So, any questions or comments? Yes, another point.
Difference between a devotee and a pure devotee. The phrase pure devotees repeated a lot in the purpose.
Pure devotee is one who is Paramahamsa. However, Prabhupada at one time said we were all pure devotees because we're on the path. So it's kind of like there are many different understandings of that meaning, pure devotee, one who's on the path, you see. But basically, I guess to the nth degree, one who's Paramahamsa. He sees everyone equally. The dog eater, the saintly person, he sees them all equally. He doesn't discriminate, you see. He sees everything in relationship to Krishna consciousness, in service to Krishna, you see. So, that's the level of the Paramahamsa, pure devotee. However, the term can be used for us. Prabhupada, it's in his books, but in his classes, he sometimes said, we're all pure devotees. Right this minute, yeah. We're on the path. The Paramahamsa says no, he can never fall down. But we're on the path right now. We're serving 100%. All of us, we're hearing Bhagavad Gita, sincerely hearing. We're going to serve Krishna, we'll honor his prasadam. So therefore, as long as we're doing that, we're on that platform of pure devotee. In our position, though, it's possible for us to make a mistake still and stumble. The material energy can kind of overcome us so that we momentarily fall from purity. We may get back up and get back in the line of purity, you see. But we go past the point that we're completely depending on Krishna, you see. We've completely surrendered to Krishna. We understand that Krishna is our only hope. See, we have nothing but Krishna. The platform of the gopis, they realize, I have nothing but Krishna. On that platform, you can't fall down. Nothing can possibly attract you away from Krishna, because you have nothing but Krishna. You want nothing but Krishna. You see, there's no other thoughts, no other desires, and everything else, valuable jewels look like pieces of broken glass. There's no attraction to the material energy at all, you see. So, but in the meantime, while we're acting properly in Krishna conscious, you're on the platform of pure devotee, even though we're in the Madhyama, the middle stage. You see. Now the Uttama Adhikari, for preaching purposes, has to behave a little bit on the Madhyama platform, although he's on the Uttama, because he has to accept between devotee and non-devotee. He has to make that distinction, because you have to know who to preach to. You have to preach to someone as a non-devotee. Srila Prabhupada was an Uttama Adhikari, is an Uttama Adhikari, but he was on that Madhyama platform in dealing with us, because he had to know that we're not devotees. You know, we were just hippies, meat eaters and malechas. So he had to make that distinction so that he could raise us up. Does that make any sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
I heard it described as a team player or a fan. Are you a team player or are you a fan? There are a lot of fans.
Yeah.
They're curious and they want to watch, but they don't want to participate.
Boy, that's really good. I like that. Team player or a fan. Yeah, if you're a member of the team, then you're out there working hard, and all of you have that same goal, moving the ball downfield, making this movement successful, saving the fallen conditioned souls. The team players make all kinds of sacrifices for the benefit of the team, for the benefit of the whole, you see. And the fans are there, and they're cheering you on. But they're not putting themselves in harm's way, you see. They're not going to get tackled. You see, they're not taking any risk. The team players are taking risks. Prabhupada said, take risks for Krishna. These book distributors have to take great risks for Krishna. You know, traveling so much, and you never know. I mean, you know Krishna's always going to take care of you, but you never know. You put yourself in situations where it's kind of unknown, isn't it? I can remember distributing books in some parts of the South, and I could tell I'm in a dangerous environment.